If anybody knows me, you know that I write a poem every morning and have for most of my adult life. So I'm going to read the poem I wrote this morning while you were all sleeping. This is called, I've written and published a lot of poems with titles like Taking Up the Cause of, Contentment, Taking Up the Cause of, Endearment. So I'm trying to decide whether to name this one Taking Up the Cause of Belonging or Sanctuary. When strangers find a meeting place, for a time, they all belong to each other. Old lives cast away, a new story beginning, revising even eternity. Let's concede there's so much that's inconceivable. I'm a man who was once a boy, who imagined then, as now, I'd live for most of a century, without blemish. The rooms we sit in are never not a sanctuary. Voices surround us, each a grace. Wherever we turn, we meet another immensity, larger than the one before. What more proof do we need? The unbelievable is believable because it is unbelievable and could not have happened, but did. And we, who didn't have to be, were present. I'm just trying to add my small part to a text I'll not see the end of, whose quietness is the mind of God inclining toward the not yet that already is. And then I thought I would maybe read 2 or 3 poems that are forthcoming. This one will be in the next issue of Still the Journal. And I got the idea of my father was a towboat pilot on the Mississippi River. So there's a few things that kind of come into the poem because of that. But it has an odd title. It's called Contemporary Poetry. Hours before a storm arrives, I pilfer spines to see what catches my eye. I'm beginning to think that what we call wisdom is little more than stumbling onto one thing as opposed to something else. When my father, a towboat pilot, died, he took with him 50 years of knowing the river's changing channel. 3, maybe 4 men knew the whole of the river as intimately as he did. Years have drifted on, hours, days, and one cold February morning, when I thought to ask some ordinary detail about his childhood, now lost forever. What can death teach us that we don't already know? Wind turns the rain on a slant, sweeps both benches from the patio, then intensifies so that the woods line 100 yards away can't be seen. It's strange to think that of all his mind came to consider through most of a weary century, almost none of it was spoken aloud, and even less of it given to a page. He taught me the current might be wide, but far below, the channel follows its own course, and not always where you think it should be. This is called A Song of My People. The people I've tried to sing of never cared one whit, and turned back to campfires and bean rows and whatever sadness lay deep in their thoughts. There were shut-ins to look in on, and someone's fallen tree to cut and haul away. And had I asked what question follows all their days, they would have thumped me good and spent no time explaining why. One would have motioned, "Hand me that wire cutter," and another trembled a rolled up cigarette to his lips and shook his head at nonsense. They've been gone for years. And that's the one true answer to any question. But mornings and evenings I hear them rattling around inside me. Tool shed carpenters shoring up steps, hatchet throwers and pool sharks, old men rummaging coffee can catch-alls for a lug nut or washer, a wheat penny, a buckeye, a cave-found fossil. They make a song of searching after saw blade files and needle nose pliers. A note goes high, then low, contemplative as an eddy, some long gone lonesome hinge on a hayloft door. And I move to speak, to say their time and place, the words of who we were and came to be. And one goes silent as he always did, and another slams a tailgate shut, and one leans down to hook a chain to pull someone from a ditch, and one nods and shrugs his chin and lets that be a sort of answer. So the poem I wrote that is included in Red Branch Review. I've written a lot of poems that are addressed to specific poets, and so if I can find this poem. Did I bring the right one?
Yeah, you did.
I did, okay.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I was in the first issue,
Yeah.
but only my bio.
Growing pains.
Yeah.
It's been a literary journey.
Yes, it's been a journey.
Anyway, I've written a lot of poems that are directed to specific poets, and just as a way of thinking about, hey, what can I say to this person that I can't really say to anybody else? And either exploring the ways our lives intersect. Like, for instance, I wrote a poem to the poet Al McGinnis, and he and his wife adopted a child, and I'm a child of adoption, and so that, you know. But this one is called Concerning an Eternal Day, to Linda Parsons. I'm unsure what we figured out about ways to move forward, out of childhood, out of griefs. But there's a comfort found in how the earth is always near, spilling its bounties, its paths stumbled onto, then followed, its crisp June mornings. All these we are bound to, all these speak to us. It helps to have an ear attuned to iris leaning, where the wind transcends the myths we make of heaven. It helps to have a sense that what we sense of emptiness cannot account for what we'll never know was absent. All we'll never know is present. All we'll never hold or say of grace. Still, we try a word or two to hear the least thing being what it tries to be inside this all-surrounding garden we keep tending. Perhaps we hear only what we need the answer to become, trusting there will be one if we lean a little closer to the stems and fallen petals. These words are curiosities, brief as berries underfoot. I know no more than you do what the final harvest holds. If what we spent our lives on comes to ease for anyone the burden of a moment's lack of ease. Words are our beginnings, yet they hold a hollowness that sometimes seems the point of any day's demise. The letters sent or unsent, the joys that fell away, the mysteries that didn't. Is this our one eternal day, the one the hymn reminds us of? I am bound for the promised land. I am bound for the promised land. Your words have offered rest, forgiveness, the peace of time borne down inside the bones, remembrance, the yet to be, the spare solace of starlings. I'm unsure how a path appears and why the mind decides to follow where it goes. Mystery may be the only ground we walk. It leads from here to here again, from word to word, from grace to grace. We step through weariness to find that we belong. I'm sure there isn't anywhere that isn't offering a call to be reborn. This poem is only one of countless answers passed along to you for safekeeping. Hold it for a moment toward the light, then let it fall away. Toward roots and loam, toward songs you sing alone, the wordless ones that never rise to reach your deepest voice. And I may just read a couple of other short poems. I'm glad I looked through that so I was here on this campus in 2013, and in fact I think I had to be ushered off campus because I didn't want to leave. I had a police escort, sir. Yeah. But I spent a lot of time with Ernest Lee, and over a 2-day period, probably 8 hours of conversation. It was really, really wonderful. He told me a story about the poet James Steele and when he visited this campus. And it got closer and closer to when he was supposed to be here, and he wasn't here, and then he wasn't here, and he kept on not being here, and then it was really, really close to the reading. And so anyway, the next morning before I left here, I wrote this poem. So it's called Just Off the Road for James Steele. A man who's old enough has earned the right to stop the car if, driving past some woods, the beauty so beguiles him, he is drawn to wander under autumn's changing leaves. And even if expected somewhere else, he'll now be late. We might do well to leave him to this chance at solitude, so late in life, forgiving how he turns the car around and finds a place just off the road, then takes such care no car will come upon his own, and startled, jerk the wheel, or worse. He goes among such quiet selves and bends to sit among their roots, a wide estate. He nestles back inside a psalm of time. So apparently what he had done was he saw a stand of trees and he loved it and just kind of went out and sat under a tree and actually fell asleep. I was like, that's so wonderful. And then I'll end with a little poem called Point of Origin. I found this poem in one of my journals and I had never topped it up years ago. I don't know, maybe 12 years had passed. I was like, it's kind of interesting. It doesn't have a title. And so I put a title on it. Point of Origin. In the cool after rain passes through, the sky to the west is a shade of purple never seen before. So what if I exaggerate? I do so out of reckless awe. From the first note, the harp lives in denouement. One's life proceeding seems only rising action. The flute makes an interlude between two breaths. My own point of origin involved a wheelbarrow full of rocks to wheel out past the barn's bent shadow. Sometimes, though, I knelt down where a doe had stood. Home from school, I followed my papaw from woodshed to hog trough to feed barrel to woods trail out back. Evenings on the porch, we sat barefooted and sang to the stars. I figure whatever fortune I had was just about as much as I could bear. I lay on pine needles, I sampled wild plums, cast here and there, I've held on tight to the bones of the wind.